10 o'clock. Okay, Shah. Story time. 10 o'clock. Yalla.
Story time.
Very good. Okay. So, story is about the Tzemach Tzedek. And basically the way it works is that, like many towns in these times, there was a landlord or a paritz who owned, vast patches of land. I don't know the word patches ever, many lands. And the same person who was in charge, who was the lord over the land of Lubavitch, so he also was in charge of other places nearby. And not far from Lubavitch, there was a Yid who had a dairy, where he would, have milk and cheese and all this different stuff, and he made a lot of money from there. So this paritz called the Yid once and said, "You atzamta and you became even more powerful. You're richer than I am, and you took everything that belongs to me. Like another Avimelech, And so basically, you have to find another place within a month. And I don't want to see, there should be not even a zecher of you. Shouldn't even, yeah. So basically, this guy is in big trouble. So first he thought he was just joking with him. And he realized after a while that he's serious. And he started to beg him, please don't do this to me. But instead, his begging irritated this guy even more, and he said, "You have to be out within a week, and if not, I'm going to throw you out, and I'll take everything, all of your belongings for myself." So now,
sounds like a pretty sweet deal, like compared to other stories.
Mm-hmm. That's true. It's true. He's being nice, right?
He's gone to like Florida or Texas.
He's letting him go.
Exactly right. He didn't just kill him on the spot, He's a kind paritz over here, Just a guter Mensch, Tak Avimelech, I'm a good guy, Anyway, so what does this Yid do? He goes to the accountant of the paritz, who also happens to be a Yid, right? Stereotype, and
it's not a stereotype for nothing.
Anyway, so he was friends with this accountant, and he asked him to help him, but this accountant was also scared of the paritz. He didn't want to get on his bad side, so he said, "I can't help you." So he realized that he's not going to get any help, so he runs to Lubavitch. He goes to Tzemach Tzedek, and he asks Tzemach Tzedek to write a letter to this paritz, who also is in charge of Lubavitch, to write some kind of letter of reference. So don't worry, you could trust him. He's not going to take your stuff from you. Anyway, the Tzemach Tzedek gives the letter, and this Yid, this owner of the dairy, was so happy. He runs home, and only when he gets home he realized that the letter is not to this paritz, it's to a prominent businessman, a Yid, who lives in Chernigov. So he runs back, and he goes to the shamus, and he says, the Rebbe made a mistake, it seems. So the shamus said, the Rebbe does not make mistakes. And if you have a letter to go to Chernigov, start going. Get your horses. And he tried to reason, no, he probably just meant to give this letter to somebody else. He gave it to me. He said, the Rebbe doesn't make mistakes. So he goes home, he tells his wife, and his wife says, maybe you should go to Chernigov. And always in these stories, the woman has more emunah chachamim than the man.
Yeah.
Women have more emunah. That's
gender assignment.
Sha. No, Mendy. Halt zich inderdaad. Okay.
That won't stop him.
So he realizes that he doesn't have much of a choice, and he starts going. He goes to this businessman, and he gives him a letter from Tzemach Tzedek, and he tells him, "I have this letter from Tzemach Tzedek." So this balabas says, this prominent businessman says, a letter from the Lubavitch, I'm a misnagid. He was not a chassid, and he didn't like chassidim. Now, when he read the letter, and he sees that Tzemach Tzedek asks him to help this Yid, to speak to this paritz on his behalf, he has even more he's even more surprised and puzzled. Why? Because, he says, even though I'm a misnagid, I really respect Tzemach Tzedek. Why? Because he's a big lamdan. Tzemach Tzedek was known to be, a big, he had a lot of shalas teshuvos, whatever. But he's asking me to do something. I don't even know this guy. I never did any business with him. So how can I help you? But again, you see another example of the woman who has more rachmanas and more, emunah than the man. His wife hears over and says, no. The wife of the balabas says you have to go. You can't let him be. And maybe Taka, somehow you going is going to help. And she tells this guy, don't worry, my husband's going to go with you. He's like, don't worry, right? So the kachava. So what happens? They go to. They traveled all the way until they got to this paritz, and the owner of the dairy hid. He didn't want to. He got so scared when they started to approach the place. He didn't want to get this guy even more angry. The paritz more angry, so he hid. But this misnagid, he stood by the fence, the iron fence, and he looks through, and he sees that a lot of people are running around, preparing for somebody, and the paritz is calling over to him. He's saying, "Come over here." He tells him in Polish. I don't even know how to say these words, but he's calling him over, and this guy doesn't realize. This guy doesn't realize that he's talking to him. He calls him 3, 4, 5 times until the paritz comes over to him. He takes him by the arm and he says, "Come inside." And he calls his wife and children, and he says, "Look who came to us, who honored us with his presence." And this guy is totally, he really doesn't know what's going on at all. He doesn't know who this paritz is. This guy is giving him showering with all these honors. And he realizes this. The paritz sees it, doesn't know who he is. He says, you don't remember me? I got stuck in the snow. Me and my wife, we almost died. You took us in. You took care of us, and you didn't let me leave until the snow subsided. We stayed in your house for a week, and you took care of us, and you didn't even take a penny from us for all the trouble. You didn't want us to pay you anything. You don't remember? And then this guy remembers, there was a nobleman. And he started talking about, what happened, and they sort of caught up. And after all these, after they had their conversation, he says, "Let me tell you why I came to you. My relative, my cousin," he says, "he has this dairy by you for many years, and he has a big parnasa, and he's been living under your benevolence, and now I see that you want to kick him out, and he won't have any parnasa left. I'm telling you, he's a good guy, and he's not gonna take over you. He's not trying to do anything wrong to you. Please leave him in his place." No. And the paritz says, "Can you promise me that I can trust him?" And he promised him, yeah. And so he calls the yid, the owner of the dairy, in, and he says, "You can stay here. Don't worry. I was just joking with you. I didn't really mean it." So he says, "I was just trying to, I was just messing with you." And the yid hears this, and he's very happy. So now what happens? So this guy, this misnagid, he gives he benches the paritz for his his kindness, and he goes back home. Now this misnagid, as when he sees that Taka everything worked out like the Tzemach Tzedek said, he decided to go right away to Lubavitch and to tell Tzemach Tzedek. And he goes,
Shmat Lubavitch.
So when he goes to the house, when he goes into the house of the Tzemach Tzedek right away thanks him that he listened to what he asked him to do. And he tells the Tzemach Tzedek, he said, "You should know I was misnagid all my life, from my youth. I didn't believe in any of these miracles that they say about the tzaddikim in our times, and now I see that there is an open miracle from Adinenu Rabbeinu, from Kvik Dushasi." Tzemach Tzedek says, "Chas v'shalom, we don't do any miracles over here." He says, "What happened? Hashem blessed me with a good memory, and I remember hearing the story about this person about this paritz who was, brought in by you. He said, I don't know if this is what happened or Tzemach Tzedek was being humble and it didn't happen, but he was saying that I know that everything I hear and that I see is not for nothing, right? It's for a reason. And the fact that I heard that there was this parts once was saved by a certain important businessman in Chernigov, I thought this is probably the person who could help this person, not lose his pants. So, as you're saying, no, it's nothing to do with any ma'asim, no rachakaydish, no miracles. And this businessman, this Misnagid, became even more, he was even more impressed, especially from the fact that Tzemach Tzedek wanted to make it as much melubish and teva as possible, and he didn't want to take any credit or show off any of his godless. Anyways, we should all have Suras Tevis and Nisim in our lives with Mashiach soon. And B'Tevach. Thank you.
Wait, this is live?
This is live.
We're live on what?
Instagram.
Oh my God, I've never been live before. I want to thank my publicist, my fans, but above all else, my mother.
But Mendy, you can't recycle. You can't
Been
recycle.
my inspiration since day one.
Done with, yes?
Mendy, a little bit.
Your camera died.
Oh.
Racist.
No, so we'll have to post from
Stop
there.
it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Okay, anyway.
Snag.